a word of caution. This floor is slippery when you're standing on a chair.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm really excited right now.
Thanks for the caution.
I mean, happy 3 hours.
Once upon a time, there was a lovely little princess named Snow White. Her wicked stepmother, the queen, was so jealous of the little princess's beauty, she made her dress in rags and work very, very hard. Every day she would ask her mirror, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" And every day the mirror would always reply the same thing, "You, O queen, are the fairest in the land." And the queen would sit and smile, until one day she thought, "Snow White, she's getting older. The rags can no longer hide her beauty. What will happen to Snow White? Will the queen stop at nothing to become the fairest in the land?" Find out in Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, rendered by Twin Books. Snow White knew not of her stepmother's jealousy, but one day when she was drawing water from the old well, she heard the familiar sound of hoofbeats in the distance. Who could that be? And she turned around and saw a handsome young prince standing before her. Oh, Snow White was so scared, she ran up to her balcony and peered down at him. Obviously, he was not going away, so she kissed a white dove, mwah, and sent it down to him. The queen, of course, saw the whole thing, and she was outraged. She called on her huntsman. "Huntsman." "Yes, my queen." "Take Snow White out into the forest and kill her. Put her heart in this box." The huntsman did as he was told, and Snow White skipped to the forest and picked wildflowers. "Oh, this was such a great idea. Don't you think stepmother would like these?" Before Snow White could do anything, she saw the huntsman's dagger drawn, ready to strike. But before Snow White knew it, the huntsman dropped to his knees. "I can't do it, Snow White." He told Snow White of the queen's evil plan. Run away from here. I'll kill a deer and put its heart in the box." Snow White ran. She ran as fast as she could. Till she could run no further. When she woke up, she was surrounded by dozens of forest animals. Hello. She told them of the queen's evil plan too. "Oh, I do like my new friends, but I do need a place to stay tonight." The animals knew just where to lead her. They led her to a quaint cottage right over a river. Snow White opened the door and looked inside. It's so dusty and dirty in here. I bet no one's lived here for years. But if they have lived here, we should clean it up for them as a surprise. Snow White and the animals wasted no time. But when they finally climbed up to the bedroom, Snow White noticed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 little beds. Oh, look, everybody. Each of the children have their names engraved into their beds. Let's see. Doc, Dopey, Grumpy, Halfful, Bashful, and Sneezy. Well, those are odd names for children now, aren't they? Oh, I am quite tired. And with that, Snow White collapsed over all 7 beds. But little did she know, the dwarves had just come home to the mine and were standing in their living room. "It's so clean in here," replied their leader, Doc. "Achoo! There's a lot less dust. Achoo! See? I only see twice." But then, they heard a noise from upstairs. Thinking it was a monster, the terrified dwarves shakily climbed the stairs, only to find Snow White. "Oh, why, you're not children at all. You're little men." Snow White told the dwarves of the queen's evil plan, and they took pity on her, letting her stay. Meanwhile, back at the castle, the queen was enraged. "A deer's heart, bah! Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" This time, the mirror did not reply its usual reply. Over the hills and through the forest lay Snow White, the fairest in the land. This could not do. The queen raced down to her dungeon and started brewing an evil potion. She drank it, and then turned into an evil old hag. But no, the queen was not done just then. She poured another potion and a shiny red apple in it. Put the apple in a basket, put the basket in a boat, and then rode off to the dwarf's cottage. The next morning, Snow White kissed every single one of the dwarves on their heads and set them off to work. Oh, I do need a way to entertain myself today. How would I make them a pie? Just as Snow White was rolling out the dough, the evil old hag showed up at the cottage. You might want to put some apples in that pie. Menfolk love apples. Oh, Snow White did not want to be rude, so she took the prettiest apple from the basket and took a bite. Before Snow White knew it, she had collapsed. The queen started to exit the cottage, not knowing that the animals had seen the whole thing, and scurried to the cave to get the dwarves. They were standing up there. They raced the queen up to a narrow cliff, and just as she was trying to budge a boulder to topple one over them, it knocked her off the cliff. Oh, the dwarf could not come to bury Snow White. She was too beautiful, even in death. So they sealed her in a glass coffin so they could admire her forever. Snow White's prince had heard of the fair maiden that lives in the glass coffin, so he rode to see her. He lifted the lid and placed a kiss upon Snow White and bowed his head. Then all of a sudden, I've had such a curious dream. Snow White awoke. The prince grabbed her into his arms and put her on his horse. Snow White said goodbye 7 times to each of the dwarfs, and they rode off to the prince's castle, where they lived happily ever after.